Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I am Abby, the Executive Director of the Vermont Ski and Snowboard Museum, and welcome to our virtual Red Bench. We encourage our viewers to support the Red Bench Speaker Series by making a donation. As a nonprofit, your support is what keeps us going. As always, your donation in increments of $10 earns you a raffle entry for a pair of Darn Tough socks. I will draw the winners tomorrow, so get your donations in before 8 a.m. tomorrow morning to be entered. A massive thank you to our Red Bench Series sponsors, silver sponsor Scholler Textile, bronze sponsor Sisler Builders, and our media sponsor Vermont Ski and Ride. We are so grateful for their support. Tonight we're joined by John Caldwell. John has been dubbed the father of cross-country skiing, and rightfully so. An impressive lifetime as a cross-country Olympian, coach, and author has earned him a place in both the U.S. and Vermont Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Joining John in his home is a very familiar face on the Red Bench, Peter Graves. Peter is a longtime museum board member with a 40-year career in the ski industry as a coach and TV and stadium announcer. He has covered 13 Olympic Games and was named to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame in 2021. You will have an opportunity to ask your questions at the end. Please type those into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And without further ado, Peter, you can take it away.
Okay, great. Abby, thank you very much. Well, whether you know this man as John, or Johnny, or JC, as most of us call him. We have the father of cross-country skiing with us, John Caldwell, today. And Johnny, you have spent a lifetime in this sport. You turned 95 years old this week, extraordinary. And we have an awful lot to cover from your career and your remembrances. So thank you for being with us, John. I think let's start kind of at the beginning and ask you, how did you discover cross-country skiing?
Sure, that's a good question. My father played basketball at Cornell, class of 28, and he was sort of, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, he was sort of my coach, and he taught me basketball. I never saw ski, and I grew up as a basketball player. Then we moved to Putney, and he took a job at Putney School as the business manager. And at Putney, there were about 150 kids. They all skied. And I said, what the devil's what's going on here? So, but I got some skis. But that first winter, which was the winter of 41, 42, that first winter, I walked around Putney Village with a basketball tucked under my arm, looking for somebody to shoot hoops with. There weren't many people, and everybody at Putney, except for about 3 people, skied. So I got skis and went to school and started taking lessons in skiing. That was all there was to it. So one of the students befriended me, and we put the bindings on my new alpine skis in the main building hall during vacation. We were drilling and spreading ashes and chips all over the floor. That was fine. And I got out skiing. So I skied in the 9th grade. I was in the 9th grade then. So kept skiing, kept taking lessons. And I got pretty good in alpine, and I was not afraid to jump. I could jump like crazy. I never did cross country. I didn't have any cross country skis. So went through the 9th grade, 10th grade, and then in the 11th grade, we got a new coach. John Holden had coached me before, but then we got this Rink Earl from Conway, New Hampshire, and he was an awfully good skier in alpine, beautiful skier. And he didn't know anything about cross country and jumping. At the same time, we were entering a high school competition with our ski team. And so it was 4 events: downhill, slalom, cross country, and jumping. Well, I had downhill skis. I just had 1 pair of skis. I raced on them. Jumping, I was a terror. I could jump on a snow jump or anything. They were very small jumps, jumped well, and I never ran cross country. So this was in my about junior year. So we signed up for a state ski meet, and they needed 5 cross-country skiers. I said, holy cow, what am I gonna do? So my little sister skied. She had some wooden alpine skis about as tall as I was. I could walk under a table without bending my knees. I was not a big guy, but she had those, and I said, Ruthie, I'm going to borrow your skis because I'm going to go run cross country. Oh, fine. So I had jumping boots. They were a little flexible, so I used them for the cross country skis that I borrowed from Ruthie. They were fine. They're pretty flexible, and I enlarged her binding. She had bear traps with a cable binding, so I enlarged the bindings and got all set for the race. The race was at Lyndonville, and so I had never skied before. So I literally ran around the course like this, and geez, I came in 11th. So that was pretty good. The team, we did okay in jumping and alpine, and so we qualified for the New England meet, New England Championships, and went to that the next weekend. Well, I said, gosh, that was a shameful appearance, shameful result I put in cross country, so I'm going to go practice. So we got to Putney, and we was down there for a couple of days before the next race. And I said, I'm going to go out in the woods and train. Well, I went out east of school on a trail out there, and I tried to go fast, and I got tired, and I quit. I said, no, I can't do this. The hell with it. So I really did about a half a practice, and that was that. So that was my ski log for 41 and 42. So I went to, somehow I got into Dartmouth. I was really fast at mathematics, and they didn't count the college boards. I took the college boards for various colleges, but I really bombed the college boards. I answered one question on the English by, they said, write your experience from a true novel or true article or something like this. Well, we had studied who this guy, I forget the name, but yeah, and it was the most it was not real true. And so, but I wrote an article about it, and it was total what do they call it? The article.
Oh, nonfiction?
Nonfiction, yeah.
Okay.
They said, write something from nonfiction and show what you learned. Tell us something you learned. Well, I wrote about the Jane Eyre. I wrote the fiction about Jane Eyre, what I learned reading Jane Eyre. So I didn't score very well on that test. So anyway, but the SAT math, I whizzed right through that. I got through it and got through way ahead of time. I went through and checked all the answers, and I think I got them all right, except maybe I missed one. But so I got into Dartmouth on that basis. Well, I also had a teacher who was a good friend.
Alert from software update.
I don't know that.
I don't know. We'll just
Okay,
keep going.
just say it. Cancel.
Yeah.
So this teacher was at a party, and he was talking to a businessman from Brattleboro who was on the board of the admissions board, and he put in a good plug for me. So I guess I got the good recommendation, and I got into Dartmouth because I'm sure I got a great score on the SAT. So that was that. Got into Dartmouth. Then, so I
Excuse me, mail needs your attention.
Yes.
Pardon us for that. We'll continue.
So I went to Dartmouth and went out for the ski team freshman year, and that was fine. I still didn't have any cross country skis, And I did some alpine and slalom, and I was a terror on the jump as usual. So that was fine as a freshman and a sophomore. I went still on the team, and I did cross country and jumping. Borrowed some jumpers, some college jumpers, and I was given a new pair of cross country skis. Oh, that was real good. And the first day I had them, some coach was teasing me, and he skied across my tips. Well, I have pretty fast reactions. As he skied across, I pulled the skis out, and he ended up on one ski and snapped it right off. And I was just about heartbroken. New skis. I never had cross-country skis. So he said, never mind, come on, we'll go downtown to Art Bennett's shop. And he walked in and said, these skis broke, he needs another pair. That's all he said. I smiled. And so I got a new pair of skis. Then I was on doing 4 events, and so we had a meet at Kimball Union. And so I came to the cross-country race, and I said, what I do? These skis were being replaced or something. So Prager, the coach, lent me his skis, and I raced, and the ski kept coming off. So I quit. So I never finished that race. Later in the season, towards the end, the Nordic coach took me up to Rumford for a race, and I had the same problem. I had Prager skis, but I couldn't keep them on. They kept coming off. And so I said, the heck with this. I finished 26th in that race. Only 26 people finished. So that was that. So junior year, then I got it together. I did 4 events. They needed 4 event skiers, partly because there was a limit on the team size you could bring to a meet, and you had to do cross country and jumping, and they had to combine the cross country jumping, and they added the 2 scores together. That was a paper event, and they did the same thing in alpine. Well, it's easy to get alpine slalom downhill. That's real easy. So those 2 guys go together. But if you want to get good jumping scores, well, it's tough. You have to have a good jumper. And if you have a good jumper, then the guy's got to run cross country, or else you're not going to get a good combined score. So here I was raising my hand. I thought, I'll jump, and I can do cross country. And so that's how I got into cross country. Really, I was doing Nordic combined in the sophomore year. So junior year came, and I was more a valid 4 event skier, and I did fairly well. I kept improving, and I was doing Nordic combined in cross country and jump, and also in alpine. And so that worked out pretty well, and I was getting better, and I decided to train and for cross country. There wasn't much you could do for jumping except go jump. That was easy, but I did that. So in the junior year, at the Jay Densmore, my Nordic coach, took me to it was senior year. It was 1950. Jay Densmore took me to a Eastern Nordic Combined Championships. Some of the guys that were on the 1950 Olympic Nordic Combined team were there, and I entered the meet, and I beat a couple guys. I said, well, this isn't much. This is pretty routine. So I decided that I would go out, try out for the Olympic team in Nordic Combined. And that was that. The thing that really got me going was, as a junior, all the juniors were supposed to go to the personnel office and get an interview and see what you wanted to do. So I walked into this interview room, and the guy was sitting there. He said, "Well, John, now what would you like to do next year?" I said, "Well, it's the tryouts. I'd like to try out for the Olympic team." He said, "Oh, you can't do that. That you gotta go get a job." And I said, "Oh dear, oh dear." Well, I'd coached a little bit at Putney, and so I said, "Well," he says, "isn't there something you'd like to do?" And I said, "Yeah, well, I'd like to be coaching sometime." So he said, well, just a minute." He reached down to his lower right hand drawer in the desk and pulled open this drawer. There was one folder in it. He opened it up, said, there's a job at Lindenville. They need a coach, a ski coach, and a driver ed course teacher. So I said, well, how do I get it? And I go up and interview this guy. And so I interviewed at Linden and got the job. And they said, well, you have to go to driver's ed school, take a graduate course. Here, I'm already thinking, oh boy, I'm getting graduate degrees, graduate credits for driver's ed. So I got that, went for a week or so. And so I was all certified to coach driver's ed. So I went to Putney after I graduated. I mean, I went to Linden after I graduated from college, and 1950, 51. I never worked so hard in my life. I had one room in the dorm. I shared a bathroom with the rest of the dorm. I had 3 classes first thing in the morning, general science. Average class size was 27. So I had about 80 or 90 students. Mm-hmm. And then I had 3 classes of driver's ed. After those 3, 1 class before lunch and 2 after, or something like that. And then they had 7 periods. So I had 3 general science, 3 driver's ed. And then for the 7th class, they didn't want me sitting around, I guess. So I was the proctor, the big boss in the assembly hall for a study hall. There were about 80 people in there. The guys were forever getting up and wanting a slip to go to the bathroom, so I had to write out slips and so that was 8 classes, 7 classes a day, 5 days a week. But then coaching, well, in the fall, I coached with a football team. I was just sort of a gopher. And in the winter, I obviously coached 4 events skiing. And in the spring, I went out and coached whatever I could. Mostly I coached some field events, but I could run pretty well. So I ran with some of the guys. And our team, we sort of won the jump in, we won the big football game. So we were sort of the football champions. We won the ski champions, and we won the track championship. And I helped precious little in every event, but I was there 5 days a week, and we had my dorm mate, my dorm head. We alternated nights, and we alternated weekends. So I worked that 7 periods a day, every afternoon on sports, and then every other weekend and every other night on duty. I didn't get much time to drink beer, but that was that. That was so. And then the Navy, I had screwed up my mathematics comprehensive, so I didn't do well in those. So I had to take them again in the year when I was working at Lindenville, and I passed them. The minute I passed them, then I had an official graduation, and the U.S. Navy wrote me and said, "Hey, John, you're eligible. You're eligible now. Here's your assignment. Here's your commission." And so I reported to down in Virginia, wherever it was, going to the Navy, and I got put on a transport, a sort of a troop transport, the USS Chilton. We carried 27 landing boats, and we would go to the anchor 2 miles offshore, and put the boats down and put them. We carried 500 Marines. We put the Marines in a boat over a cargo net, and they tramped down, got in a boat. And so we had a couple of drills down in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean, and it was hotter than the blazes. And guys were just throwing up all over the place. They were down here, boom, boom. They were going around in circles because that's what you had to do before you went off to the beach. And boom, they'd travel, and the waves were boom, boom. Poor guys got really, really seasick. When we finished circling, all the guys were circling. We said, come on back to the ship and come on, unload. Well, so the bosun has to bring the boat in next to the ship, and there it is right there, and the cargo net's here, and the poor Marines had to get on the cargo net. They have this big pack on, and they're climbing up. So some of the guys almost couldn't make it. They get up there, right there near the deck, and they were about ready to fall over. And so I was there with a bosun mate or something. We'd grab the guys one at a time, and we'd drag them over the deck and stack them up like cordwood just to get them in. So that was something. That was quite a drill. So that was my time in the Navy. Then I got a call one day from a good friend of mine who was in the class with me at Dartmouth, ROTC. We all took ROTC classes, one class a term, and so we got our commission for that. And so this one guy called me. He said, "Hey, I just called the personnel office over at the naval headquarters, and he didn't know that he had a sailor that was on the Olympic team. So he's going to send you some orders." And I said, "Well, that's fine with me." So he called me up one day and he said, "Hey, John Caldwell, how are you?" He says, you should be training, shouldn't you? I said, "Well, yes." And he said, "Well, I'm going to give you orders to report to Sun Valley." And so I went out there, and they report to the head of the ski patrol. I forget the name.
Was it Leif Odemark?
No, he was the coach.
Oh, he was the coach.
Yeah,
I don't recall, Johnny.
Bench or something. Anyway, he said, you report to him and he'll give you orders. So I went out there and reported to this guy, and he was a friend of mine. I knew the guy. And he said, "Okay, Caldwell, you're just like the rest of these guys on we took a position on the ski patrol. So they put us in a ski patrol bunk, and they fed us and all that stuff. So we worked 2 hours in the morning, cutting brush on the trails, and then we trained in the afternoon. That was a hell of a good deal. And they paid us $250 a week. And I was drawing my Navy pay as well. I never earned so much money in my life as Navy pay, and $250 a week. So that was really good. And so so much for the Navy. That was good. I need a break here. I've got to see what I haven't covered. The
Well, we certainly have the 52 Olympics.
Oh yeah, well this is what we were working.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the team. Yeah, I made the Olympic team in 51 when I was teaching at Lyndonville, and they had tryouts at Rumford and Berlin, and I took a nice guy, science teacher named Al Forrest. He came with me to the ski meet, big bus. We drove over on Wednesday, I guess. Thursday, dubbed around. Excuse me. Friday, we had a alpine race, and I took off Friday, and I teamed up with Al Merrill, and he and I went to the 2 tryout races, first one at Rumford and then one at Berlin. Well, so I did well enough in those. I finished second in both tryouts, and they could hardly keep me off the team. So they put me on and Ted Farwell. Farwell did very well. He was our best guy. He took the whole year off and trained. He was smart. I couldn't take the year off. I had to go earn some money. But anyway, so I made the team, and Paul Wegeman and Tom Jacobs made the team, but they never went to the tryouts. And I said, gee, this is strange. I was listed number 4 choice, as a matter of fact. And I said, holy cow, what if they hadn't taken me? But they took me. And that was my first inkling of politics. I say, how did Jacobs and Wegeman both make the team without going to the tryouts? Well, there's 2 tryouts. That was it. So they were both nice guys, and I really had a good time. We had a good time training. Tom and I would joke all the time. Paul and I trained together and practiced jumping all the time. And it was a very good situation at Sun Valley. They had a 50-meter jump. We packed it up and jumped there. And then we ran cross country. They had a huge amount of snow that year. So we were usually breaking track. And that was also very good. So then there it was, training, very good training. There were a couple officers in there. Farwell was a rookie private. I was a commissioned officer. I kept giving him orders. And Paul Wegeman was in school for pilots or something, but he had married Katie Rodolph, and he didn't. Cadets weren't supposed to get married, but he married Katie anyway. And when they found out, they threw him out of the Navy. And that affected my eligibility for the trip after the Olympics. And we went to the Olympics, and then we had some time off, and we were invited to go to Sweden and Finland for some races. But I guess the guys looked at Wegeman, and they said, well, we threw him out. Caldwell, you were last, so there's no sense sending you to Europe. So we sent me home. Well, that was okay. I'd gotten a trip over there. And when I got home, I called my personnel officer in Boston. And I said, hey, whatever, I'm back. When do you want me to go back on duty? He said, well, he says, don't you have something you'd like to do? You want to take some time with your family or something? He was very pleasant. And I said, well, sure. There's an Eastern Downhill Championships at Pinkham Notch next weekend, and I'd like to enter that Alpine meet. And he said, oh, well, go ahead. So I went up and entered the Alpine meet, the downhill on the Wildcat Trail. A guy named Tony Matt from Austria had the trail records on a bunch of trails in the East, because they used to time them and say, hey, you got the record, or you're 5 seconds off the record, or something like that. So that was good. I raced it first time on alpine skis after cross country, and I did all right. I came 14th, but I broke Tony Matt's record. So 14th, I said, yeah, I broke Tony Matt's record. First day on skis, and after that trip. So that was good. Then, I don't know, things blended together. I went back to the Navy and did my duty, another year to go, year and a half. And I got out, that was 1950, 52. Yeah. Oh no, 50. My time thing is a little off here. I went to race at the downhill Wildcat in 52 after the Olympics. I'd already been to the Olympics. Our team got to the Olympics, and they weren't too organized. This was kind of pitiful. We got there, and Hjalmar Valm was our manager, the binding maker. You know, he was one of the first guys to come out with safety bindings. So he said, I have friends here. He speaks the language. So he took off. We landed. We never saw Hjalmar except for 1 week. After about a week, he came by and he went jumping with our combined guys. I said, oh, yeah. So, and he would go up off the jump. He was just there to jump, not there to coach or anything else like that. He didn't get us any equipment and didn't do anything for us. So, but he made the trip, and that was that. And so we didn't have a jump. We didn't have a cross-country coach. We didn't have a jump coach either. Pop Sorensen was in charge of the jumpers, and there were about 5 or 6 jumpers. We had to beg him to tell us when he was going to practice jumping. He was reluctant to do that, but we would find out. We'd go out to the same jump where the good guys were jumping. He wasn't interested in us, but he had to take us. So, excuse me, we'd take one jump, he'd look us over, then we'd take another jump and he'd look us over, and then he'd give us some comments, and then that's all he ever said. So the third jump, he would say, oh, so much better, so much better. Everybody that came up, oh, so much better. It got to be a joke. Tom Jacobs and I just giggled like crazy about, oh, your jump is so much better. So much better for what? But so we really didn't have a jumping coach. Leif Odmark was the cross-country coach. Well, he too disappeared. He was originally on the B team of Sweden, and then he got a job coaching. Got a job coaching the Olympic team, but he was at the time he was an instructor, alpine instructor at Sun Valley. Big, handsome Swede, good looking, and all the stuff you would think about as a Swede, nice guy, stuff like that. But when we got to Oslo, he too disappeared, and the rumor was he had a girlfriend in Oslo. So we saw him. We got there about 2 weeks ahead of time, and so we're out there waxing, skiing around. And one day I was waxing. I was put the wax on. I was ironing it in. Prager brought this idea of ironing cross-country wax in. This was back in the 40s, and back in the 50s, early 50s. And so I was ironing it in, and Odmark showed up one day, and he looked over and he said, "Caldwell, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm ironing my wax." "Why are you doing that? It's not good." And I said, "Well, we think it makes the wax faster and it makes it hold better." So that was the end of that. But then he showed up another day and he said, "I have friends on the Swedish ski team, and they will tell me the wax for the Olympics." And we said, "Oh, good." So we're sitting there in the wax room. Odmark is over the Swedes, and he comes back and he says, "Okay, boys, I have the wax." And so we're all listening, because none of us, well, I had coached for a year, so I knew something about wax. And so he said, "The wax is Swixbu, two coats ironed in." When he said ironed in, he looked over at me, and I just smiled. But I handed it to him. He admitted that ironing in was okay. The Swedes were doing it, so it was okay for us to do it. So we ironed it in. Didn't help us much. We were terrible in the cross country. While we were there about 2 weeks before we had a race. Odmark said, the best thing for you guys to do is to rest. So, okay, some of us interpreted rest by going shopping, go down, eat all these goodies, these candies and this stuff. And I got weighing up to 170 pounds. I never weighed so much in my life. So, that was terrible. So, then somebody, maybe the manager did this, or Old Mark or somebody, they got a banker, Oslo banker. They said, hey, we got this Oslo banker. He wants to take you skiing at Nordmark. I said, oh boy, this will be good. So he showed up, we showed up, and we started following him through Nordmarka. And one by one, he dropped us.
Oh.
I said, holy cow, this is a banker. This is a banker. And we can't even keep up with him. What's going to happen when the team starts? Oh boy, that was something else. Well, that's when I began to get the message that we weren't too fast. We weren't any good. I mean, relatively speaking, we were better jumpers than cross-country skiers, but even so, it was a bad show. We were terrible. So, oh gosh, that was, then what have I got here? Yes. Well, when I was the summer after graduation, then I took this job at Lindenville. But that summer, I had to study for my comprehensive, so I was studying. But I got offered a job by Bob Monahan of the Dartmouth Outing Club. They said, hey, we need somebody to go up and run the Ravine Lodge. Well, I would have liked to do that, but I said, no, I've got to study. I can't take time off. I got to pound the books and try to take this exam and pass it, which I did. I took it in the spring of 51, and then also that time I got married. So I thought 51 was the most productive year in my life, I think. I made the Olympic team, I got married, and I passed my comprehensives. Now, what else could I do? So that was very good. So I marked that down as being a good year.
Mhm.
So what else? Oh gosh. Oh, yes.
I heard the crowds in Oslo of 52 were enormous.
Oh, yes, probably 100,000.
Yeah.
Even, yeah. Well,
Even by today's standards,
yes,
right? Yeah.
It was cross country and jumping combined.
Mhm.
I mean, the combined jumpers would go off, and the special jumpers would go off, and there was no contest. I mean, you'd see a jumper and you'd say, hey, that's a combined guy, or that's a special guy. They were very good. They were terrific. I jumped on the Holmenkollen. Oh, that was one time I really got scared. You walked up this tower. Maybe you've seen pictures of the tower, all inside, bing, 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 bing. You get up there and there's like bleachers, stands, bleacher seats. You put your skis on here, step up after the one guy or two guys go, step up again. And then finally, you step up, you're ready to go out to the chute. You haven't seen anything yet. It's all dark. And then this thing opens up. There's the city of Oslo. You say, oh, ooh. And here's, yeah. So I made it 11 jumps. I count them. I fell 6 times. I fell twice. We did 3 jumps in competition. Then the first 2, I dragged my hands or something, not bad falls, but I got 1 or 2 points. And so I almost stood, and I spun around down in the transition, stopped, and I looked up at the judge's stand. I won't call him a name, but somebody gave me 1 point I
Yeah.
almost made it, but if you stood, you'd get 6 points. But I just flipped and got 1 point. So the third jump was coming up. So my buddy Odmark came up and he says, Caldwell, there's no point you're taking the third jump because people who fall 3 times, they can't run the cross country. I said, I'm going to take the third jump and I'm going to stand. So I started down the in run and I was in a crouch, had my forearms on my knees, and I never jumped. I went off in a crouch. I landed in a crouch and I turned at the bottom in a crouch and stood. So there. So I got 6 points and I was able to run a cross country race the next day. I said, I'm not going to go over here just to, I know some guys that went in and got sick or something and they didn't in previous games or previous FIS meets or previous cross country championships, and they didn't do it. I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to at least show something. So I faked the jump and I stood. So they had to give me 6 points. That was good. That was quite a thing. Oh boy. Well, so the jump. Then after my stint with the U.S. ski team and the Olympics and the Navy, I finished in 53 and I got a job. My wife lined up a job at Putney School. So I was to be the coach and she got a job teaching history. I taught a couple courses of math, coached 4 events. And so I went on there and taught coach at Putney School for many, many years, all the way, I don't know, for 25, 30, 35 years. And then we got a bunch of skiers there. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes and then we can go to some questions, okay?
Questions, yeah. Just so I'm only going, oh boy. So so I have this, how did I ever get into ski politics? So I was teaching at Putney and Roger Peabody was the executive director of the Eastern, and he sent all the coaches a note. He says, look, I want to have a meeting and try to coordinate things. Can you guys come to a meeting on Sunday sometime? And so I said, oh, sure. So I went up. I was the only Nordic combined coach, only Nordic coach there at the meeting. And so after the meeting, he said, hey, Caldwell, come here. Yeah, he said, I'm making you the chairman of the junior committee. I said, well, fine, that's fine. What events? All 4 events, he says. I said, oh my God. Okay, I'll take it. So then I got home and about 2 days later, I started getting calls from people at Stowe. They said, hey, John, you're the chairman, aren't you? Yes, yes. We have this kid who's a good skier and he wants to go to the junior nationals, but he has pneumonia, so he can't make it. I said, well, I don't know, Oh, this guy's a really good skier. Blah, blah, blah. And then I got another call and another call. And the guys were very polite. And I said, well, I said, I don't know what the procedure is. And they said, well, you're the chairman. You can do anything you want. I said, oh, okay. Well, I said, we'll let him in. What's his name? They said, Billy Kidd.
Oh, good call.
Good call. So that was one choice. So he got into the junior nationals and he kept going. Obviously, he was a good guy, good skier.
Yeah.
If I'd known that, I wouldn't have hesitated. But that's takes me up to about 1950, whatever, 3 or 4.
Well, we'll have to do a couple of shows.
Yeah, we'll have to do 2 more shows to get me through. I never mentioned the hike or the bike. And
well, let me quickly give you a segue into that. You were really innovative as a coach in doing not only the training, but doing other things that were fun, like the hike on the long trail, the bike throughout New England.
I like to take credit for starting training in the out of doors, hiking trails, biking, and all, canoeing, rowing, anything to do outside,
Yeah.
and creating a lifestyle. So that's what I did.
And you even let me be on one day of your hike.
We the bike, yeah. Peter called. He wanted to go on our bike. We picked you up in Rutland, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
the last day. Yeah,
That's another story, but it's a
Yeah.
good one.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, Johnny, let's see if we can go to a couple of questions here.
Sure.
And this is from John Tidd.
Oh boy,
You were my examiner for EPSTI, a ski certification.
you have to read it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not getting it.
John Tidd said you liked his skiing, but couldn't pass me because, as he said, you can't double pull for beans. So he took me out behind the barn at Putney and taught me how to double pull so he could pass me. I honor John for starting my career of 50 years teaching Nordic and telemark, owning a cross-country ski area, and inventing a snow grooming machine. So
His snow groomer was good. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, good guy. Thank you, John. Chuck Sherman asked, did you initiate the George Washington Citizen Race?
No, that was Eric Berardale and Stephen Green, but that's all right.
And a follow-up to that, he said, what did that do for American skiing in later years? Well, it was one of the early citizen races,
Yeah,
right?
one of the early ones. Just introducing the citizen races. You know, there were a lot of citizen races in Europe and places.
Yeah.
So they had to find out what it was like.
And that was very successful,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, well, we have just 2 questions answered. If anybody else has questions, we have a few more minutes here to go. Johnny, I did want to ask you, and this segues a little more towards today, but we're running short on time. Boy, the performances of the ski team have been incredible in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
They're very good. The women right now, I think they rate first and second in total points. The women in the whole world.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very good. I'm not sure they'll end up. I think Diggins will probably win, but that's good.
Well, from one of your old friends and mine, Ann Donahue, great stories, JC. I remember you bringing some young Swedish women.
Good.
I'm glad she wrote about this.
Good for her.
To Anchorage in the late 60s to inspire us, which was great. So that, and then she said, how about talking about the start of NENSA, which was basically your idea.
I'm glad she brought up the Swedes because I have a note on that. And some people wrote how the women's cross country improved and all that. I don't think I haven't read all the books, but I haven't read anybody that's told about Bob Tucker, who was the manager in '66 at the FIS. He was the manager, and I went to Oslo and we met the big boss in the Swedish ski team, Engel Lodin, and we said, we want to get some help developing girls skiing. And she said, you boys have got to learn, she said, you boys have got to learn that you don't need to be an Amazon to win races. I will send you 3 good-looking girls. And she did. And the 2 girls, and that was 67, the 2 girls won 3 or 4 gold medals in '68 Olympics. Anyway, so that was good. The start of NENSA. Oh boy. Yes. NENSA was really a bunch of junior coaches who met, and they would get in the worst arguments and stuff like that about sometimes whether the race had to be 2Ks or 2.2Ks or stuff, and nothing much about development. But we started it sometime. We were arguing. Oh, let's see, where was it? I don't know. But So Fred Griffin was there, and he came up with the idea, let's call it NENSA, New England Nordic Ski Association. And so we did, and we formed a board. I was chairman of the board, I think, for quite a while, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And we started scheduling races and taking the money, the head tax for ourselves to run. That was, I told them, if there's any question about what to do, pretend that we're a separate country and we're gonna do what's good for our country. So do that. Don't kowtow to the Olympics out there in the National Association out there in Park City, because they were just taking our money and not doing anything for us. So that was good.
It certainly was, and it's turned out to be great. Kate Reeves has wanted to thank you, as I learned to ski from your cross-country ski book and went on to teach for the next 28 years in Woodstock, a wonderful part of my life.
Terrific. Thank you.
Lois writes, John, when did you coach at Dartmouth and for how many years?
I didn't coach Dartmouth. I sent several skiers there, including Tim and Sverre, my sons. So they were an extension of me at Dartmouth. They did well.
Well, here's our friend John Morton, and I think I know this story. He says, tell us about the Yellowstone Park training expedition prior to the 72 Olympics.
You can tell it that.
Well,
yes, John, you did it on the radio, but we went around the gate to go skiing at Yellowstone along one of those rivers, and geysers bursting around all the time, and it was really, we had a good ski, and then some park rangers discovered we were there illegally, of course. And so all the guys, all the coaches and everything, hey, Caldwell, they want to see you. Nobody offered to go down to talk to them. So I paraded up to this guy, and all these guys were about 8 feet tall. And I said, hey, what's the problem here? Well, you're breaking in on company and breaking in on federal land and stuff, and we ought to arrest you. This is the Olympic team. We're training. What the hell? What do you do? Well, they let us go. They said, get the hell out of here and don't come back. So that was that. Oh, God.
We got a question from Chuck Sherman, class of 66. 5 stores in Hanover sold downhill skis in 1965, but none sold touring skis. You imported and sold Bona touring skis to those of us at the DOC Cabin and Trail. We set our snowshoes aside. Thank you. After all these years, I still have my Bonas.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chuck. Rick Hubbard.
Yes.
I was on the Middlebury High School team from 56 to 59. Our big competitor was Putney, where I raced against Bill Gray, would that be Bob?
No, Bill.
There was Bill. Okay. Who became a lifelong friend along with many others. You and your teams inspired me, as you did for many others. So many thanks for all you've done for U.S. skiing over the year.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
I've had good talks with him. Yeah, Rick.
All right. Dennis Donahue wants to go a little further on this. What was the amount of fines you were given for entering Yellowstone?
I referred him to you, Dennis. I said, Dennis Donahue has money. He'll pay.
Thanks. That's a good one, Dennis. Thank you.
Lois Beardwood. I don't know.
Yeah. When did you begin coaching at Dartmouth?
None.
And for how many years? You said none. Harry Griffith is one of my nephews.
Yeah.
Our ski life was Stratton and SMS. Please give Sverre our love from the Beardwoods.
Yeah, okay. Sverre would remember. He has a good memory. So
all right, we still have Oh, here, one more question anyway. What about the long training runs on weekends followed by your sauna and chili pond?
Yeah, sure.
Good to see you again, Jim and Sandy Townsend.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Jim taught at Putney. They both taught at Putney. That was good. We had a good time. You know, we'd take a long run and jump in the pond after the sauna and stuff like that. That was good.
Wonderful
Good time.
memories. Yep. So Abby, are you going to respond to a question?
It's almost 8.
Yeah, coming up on 8. I don't know if we've got any more. It looks like maybe not. Well, we answered quite a few questions, and
Yeah.
one of the things that is always wonderfully evocative are the stories. You know,
Well, I didn't get to some of the stories because
but there are a million of them, and
I got a couple of great stories about Gallagher, of course, and people like that.
do you want to finish up on any other points there that you wanted to make, or?
Well, when the Swedes came over, the Swedish women, we had a night race for them, and we invited all of the Eastern guys, men and women, and Tony Gustafsson won the race. No, she was second place. John Bauer won the race. Tony beat all the rest of the men, the college guys and everything. And I saw the results and I said, oh boy, I'm coach and I've got a big job ahead of me because girls, women, they were damn good skiers, but they're still beating the men. And I said, something's wrong here. So I decided to coach hard. We took hikes and bikes and stuff like that.
And I must say, in the last day or two, when this interview was getting ready to come up, I had several emails from good friends of yours saying what an inspiration you were, and
Yeah.
And thank you for the dedication of your life for this,
Sure.
Johnny.
Sure. No, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Oh, I think that will, let's see, we may have 2 more questions. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you, Joyce. Hello from Frisco, Colorado. This is one that I
Yeah.
have just spoken of, Jim. Jim is off working, and we're hoping you will come back and meet us at the brewery again. Yes, speak to Gallagher in that era. Best to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Gallagher was a central part of that
Oh sure.
era out of
Yeah.
Rutland.
Yeah. I have one quick story about Gallagher. When I took the team in '66 to Oslo, we went up to Trondheim to train for the coming FIS. And so I said, come on, guys, we're going to take a tour. We're going to warm up. So if I went as fast as I could around the track, they would follow me, and that would be a good warm up for them. And so I'm chugging along. Gallagher's right behind me, and then Elliott, and then Gray. They go in order like this. They had about 5 or 6 guys. And here comes Harold Groningen.
Oh boy, the giant Norwegian.
Downhill, down the track, going backwards. And so I'm chugging along, and I recognize him immediately. But Gallagher's behind me. Gallagher says, watch out, here comes Groningen. I said, I hesitated for a minute, and then I turned my shoulder. I said, who? And I stayed in the track. I was going to be damned if I was going to get out of the track for a Norwegian going the wrong way,
Yeah.
leading the team. 6 guys. We're supposed to all get out of the track. Bow. I think Mike wanted us to. So Mike was a little embarrassed. Harold got out of the track, smiled at us when we went by, and said hi. You know, he was a nice guy. But that was, I said, oh, with this attitude, that's another thing I have to capture. You got to teach the guys to ski fast, and we got to get rid of this attitude that you stand aside for Norwegians. No way.
Or anybody else. Carol Van Dyke, always nice to hear from you, Carol. Happy birthday this week, John. You're amazing at 95 years old, and have such great progeny who inherit and carry on your awesome cross-country ski traditions. And And indeed, you did.
Yeah.
You had a
You know,
huge family of great athletes.
grandson, Austin, Sperry's kid, is coaching the CU Nordic team. He's a pretty good coach. And Isabel, another one of Sperry's kids, is coaching out there in California. So, and Tim is still dubbing around. Tim is, you don't want to go for a run with Tim or ski or something, because you'll get left. He's, oh, I haven't been doing anything. Oh, yeah, well, he's in good shape.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And of course, Sophie.
Sophie.
Yeah.
Sophie and Simi, they retired, but they're coaching. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of kids are coaching.
All right. Well, that looks like those are all of our questions. And Abby, I'll turn it back to you. But before I do, thank you, John, so much.
Sure.
Great
You're
to
welcome.
see you. It was wonderful.
Now we have that breakfast at Lou's.
Yes. Yeah.
He pays me.
Yes,
He
yeah.
paid me breakfast.
All right, Abby. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John and Peter. We're grateful that you both made the time to join us tonight. And thank you again to the audience for tuning in. As for the museum, December is a very busy time. We have a new exhibit, Searching for Vermont's Lost Ski Areas, that we hope you'll come and check out. Our gift shop is stocked with all sorts of great gifts, and we're running a raffle for a pair of Elan Slingshot skis. Those raffles tickets can be purchased on our website or in person at the museum, but they must be in by midnight on Sunday, and the raffle will be drawn on Monday. We're also in the middle of our year-end fundraising campaign. We need to raise the majority of our annual funding this month. So in addition to supporting the Red Bench Speaker Series, we hope you'll support our year-end campaign or become a member. Your support of any amount has a big impact. We are not a large organization wading through a sea of donations. I see each and every donation that comes in, and with each donation, I quite literally do a little happy dance. So the information on each giving opportunity can be found on our website. To say we couldn't do this without you sounds really cliche, but it's absolutely true. And that's all I have for you tonight. Happy and safe holidays to you all, and have a great evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Night.